Very good morning, 10:21. This is Britain's Newsroom with me, Bev Turner, and Andrew Pearce down in Brighton at the TUC conference, where Sir Keir Starmer will be talking in about 40 minutes or so. But in the studio with me now, GB News' senior political commentator Nigel Nelson and political commentator Piers Pottinger. Morning, gentlemen. Right, let's talk about this. PM is apparently, at the moment, Nigel, defiant on the fact that he's going to keep the winter fuel cut for pensioners. Do you think he had any idea how badly this was going to go? I
do wonder, because I mean it's the same sort of thing when the Lib Dems went back on their promise to get rid of tuition fees. They didn't recover. I mean, in 2015 they were almost wiped out, and if you talk to young people, they felt really betrayed by that. The danger of this is the same thing will happen. I mean, what I think should happen is that Rachel Reeves should keep it, but put it into the roll it into the pension, which means it can be taxed. So she'll still get money back, but wealthier pensioners will pay, because wealthier pensioners will pay tax on it.
But that seems so obvious. So there must have been a political... She's not stupid. She must have known that. So there must have been a political reason why they implemented this policy in the first place.
Right. Well, the problem with the way I was suggesting it is you don't get that money instantly. So what she needs to explain is she needed 1.4 billion before the end of the year. Very few ways of getting that in one big lump. Easiest thing is to cancel the winter fuel allowance, so she'll get that money this year and, of course, successive years.
Is it that, Piers? Or is it that it just disregards traditional Conservative voters about whom they're not that bothered?
Well, first of all, once you give someone something like that kind of allowance, it's very hard to take it back. Of course, it's absolutely insane they're doing this because they've made a mistake. They know they've made a mistake, but they can't be seen to doing a U-turn and giving in to the public view. It's a sign of weakness. And Starmer's interview the other day on television, where he was reveling in saying we're making unpopular decisions with a big smile, he says as if he's really enjoying it. And that's the worrying thing about the authoritarian side of this man coming through. No, this is not necessary. I think the vote is going to be, I mean, it's irrelevant because they've got such a big majority, they're going to win. But there will be some rebels. I find myself for the first time ever agreeing with Diane Abbott, who's against this, and at least has the courage to vote against it. What I think Nigel and I would agree, MPs who abstain on this are cowards and letting down their constituents. If I have an MP I've voted for, I expect them to vote on the big issues in the House. That's what they're there to do. By abstaining, or even worse, some of them keeping away today so they don't have to vote, it's just another form of abstention. But they're cowards, and I think there'll be 30 or 40 of them, but Starmer will still have a victory. And this very unfortunate attack on pensioners, it's only the first, mind you, because there's already trade unions and the left-wing think tanks like the Resolution Foundation are suggesting that Rachel Reeves goes further on pensions and is talking about instigating national insurance being paid on pension contributions, which is an absolutely absurd idea.
Yeah, well, what would be sensible is to have national insurance paid for those who are working. I mean, the trouble with our whole system of giving money to older people is it's based on the past. It's based on an age when people didn't live as long as they do now. We're looking at sort of a life expectancy 20 years more than, say, it was in the 1950s. So on that particular point, at the moment, after 60, you don't pay national insurance. Yet 1 in 3 over 66 over 66 men are working, and 1 in 4 over 66 women, at least doing some paid work. As far as I can see, why shouldn't they pay national insurance?
Yeah.
And the same thing applies. We have a system whereby we get free prescriptions at 60, and a lot of concessionary travel or even free travel. And you begin to think at 60...
And 60 is still young. 60 is 50.
60 is young. You're earning the same amount of money as you did at 59. So why aren't those things coming in in at retirement age at 66, which would save a great deal of money.
But I think exactly, Nigel, you see what Rachel Reeves is doing here, like the Bridget Phillipson did with the absurd VAT on public schools, is tinkering at the edges. They ought to be looking at the bigger picture and being brave enough, they've got a big enough majority, to do serious things. The demographic is changing, has changed. One looks at the retirement age, it's probably far too low. It should be maybe 70, and it will be soon.
It's going up to 68 very short.
It is, but I mean, I think it'll go up to 70. It'll have to go up to 70 because we're still behind catching up. And in other European countries, of course, it's much worse. In France, when they tried and put up the retirement age, everyone hit the streets and there was almost a revolution. But the French like doing that. I have a history of it. But no, I mean, Rachel Reeves is just tinkering around all this, and of course, blaming everything on the Conservatives. I think we're all fed up with that now. Let's look at the future and and also, for goodness sake, where is the growth they talked about in the election campaign? Where is that going to come from? Nothing this Chancellor is doing is in any way encouraging British business, encouraging people to go back to work, which is what so many of them should be doing.
10 million people in these figures today of working age who aren't earning anything as well. That's still an issue, isn't it? And a record number of wealthy and super wealthy who are moving. You must know people, Piers. Sure. You hang out with the super wealthy. How many do you know who are
Well, I know three people who have gone.
Really?
And
would you consider them to be?
One of them's one of the heads of one of the biggest investment firms in this country, and he has taken him. I mean, he's sold his house and he's moved a lot of his money out of this country.
Where has he gone, if you don't mind me asking?
Believe it or not, France.
Really?
Partly because he can afford it.
Because people are moving to Italy as well, I hear. A lot of the tax breaks there.
I don't think an awful lot of people are moving. I mean, I'm sure there are the occasional
Well, there don't need to be too many, because these are the very wealthy. And again, what socialists don't understand is if you have no wealth at the top, it is actually a bad thing. Yeah. Because socialists are against wealth of any kind. They trade on poverty. They need more poor people so they can count on their votes.
The last 30 years. To a point. I mean, at the moment, the bottom 50% of income earners own 5% of the country's wealth. The top 1% own nearly a quarter of it. Now, that can't be right.
That's precisely why you're saying we need that 1%.
But if we lose it,
you lose a huge amount.
But the real point is...
We disagree on basically what Tory policy is, that the idea is both a socialist or a Conservative would believe in wealth creation. The difference is that the Conservatives believe in looking after the wealth creators, and what they do is...
hoping it trickles down.
And hoping it trickles down in the form of jobs. But what they do is keep the money for themselves, and that's the bit I object to.
No, but what the socialists do is take all the money we've saved. and that's what they're doing now.
Off you afterwards.
I think there's genuine fear amongst those who have worked hard and put themselves under pressure and their families under pressure and mortgaged and remortgaged and built businesses. Those are the people that are fleeing the country, Nigel. And as much as you've tempted to get, to get the smallest violin out for these people, it does mean that we will have a different sort of landscape of financial capacity, because all of those very rich will also spend their money in this country.
Yeah, I mean, some of them. I understand some of them will leave, just as some people on the tax on private schools will take their children out, but not many. So the estimate is there's 26,000 non-dom. Well, there's 26,000 non-doms in the country, for instance. Under the new rules, they'll be paying more tax. The prediction is 100 will leave. So although you may well know,
well, we haven't had the budget yet. And I'm sure it'll be punitive, because that's what this government is already showing that it is. It's punitive. It's taking stuff away from everyone, creating more poverty. There is no sign of them encouraging any kind of growth
at the moment.
I think Andrew was right, that it was a strangely muted response from the delegates at the TUC conference. They applauded quite enthusiastically about repealing the Trade Union Act and anti-trade union law. laws and getting rid of minimum service levels. But that was about the only point where they got really excited. The rest of it, I think, as you've just been saying, it was a bit of a downbeat speech. And there is a point where you can't keep blaming the Tories for what's happened. You've got to say what you're going to do. I think that point comes after the budget, because that's going to be pretty depressing too.
Yeah. Piers, let me come to you. There's something about his sort of rather paternal tone which can verge on the patronising a little bit, sort of infantilising your audience a bit, but he does sometimes sound, it's very sort of fatherly. I will look after you, but you have to trust me with some tough love.
Yeah, well, I certainly don't trust him. And, I mean, he kept saying that the Labour Party had changed. Yep, it's just gone back to its old shape. I mean, repealing the Trade Union Act is a disgraceful thing to do. It just puts his paymasters... Let's not forget, he was talking to his paymasters there, and he's just playing to their tune. He's also going to penalise working people, this great phrase he keeps using. But working people have savings, they have investments, some of them have a car, some of them have a home, and on every area they're going to be penalised by this government. And at one point he talked about redistributing from prosperous parts of the country. What does that mean? Taking money away from something that's doing well, which means it'll stop doing well, and moving it somewhere else. That's just crazy. Well, he also talked about productivity gain of fairness. That again shows how, like most of the cabinet, he has no understanding of business at all. None of the cabinet actually worked in business. You've got a couple of lawyers, and the rest of them were just Labour apparatchiks. There's no understanding of British business in this cabinet at all, and that speech was certainly lacklustre. It was actually, I thought it went down like a lead balloon. I mean, you'd have thought he's delivered for his paymasters. You thought they'd be cheering him. They weren't. And so I think he's building up, and he's already got the first sign of rebellion today with the winter fuel allowance vote. Admittedly, it'll only be small and token, but nevertheless, I think he could end up with, because there comes a point where he can't keep giving the paymasters more and more money, because even he realises that'll bust the country completely.
Wouldn't you be more worried if they were on their feet giving him a standing ovation?
No, I would have expected it. I must say, I would have expected it to be much more celebratory than it was.
But isn't that a good thing?
Given
the powers that the unions have.
But I would have thought he must be slightly worried by this. And the other point is that most of his speech, of course, was simply an attack again on the Conservatives in the past. There must come a point where he says, OK, enough is enough. Let's talk about the future. And let's give some people in this country some hope of some prosperity and growth that he keeps talking about with there's no way we're going to get the growth at the moment, because he isn't doing anything to create growth. In fact, it's the reverse.
OK, well, I'm sure it's